Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is 12:30 and we are starting on time because we have one final beautiful keynote ahead of us on such a key topic, women's health. When women's health is placed at the center of research, data, and innovation, the result is better design, it is better outcomes, and it is inclusive solutions for everyone. Our next speaker knows this from experience. And as I introduce her, if there are a few people in the back that want to come a little closer and get, on this final keynote, a bit of an experience where you really are up close to the stage, up close to the speaker, I do invite you to come forward now. So you can still do this now. And I think it'd be nicer for the speaker as well to have a full plenary session here. So, our next speaker. She is the founder of one of the world's largest women's health apps, reaching over 150 million users and women across 100+ countries around the world. And what's even more remarkable is she did this by starting out with an idea, bootstrapping that venture, and then taking it to global scale before its acquisition by the Fortune 500 company Royal Philips. Amber Vodegel has shown what becomes possible when technology, data, and deep understanding of women's health come together at scale. Beyond entrepreneurship, she advises the European AI Alliance, serves on multiple boards, and coaches and mentors the next generation of health tech leaders, always with a focus on impact. Today, she is building her next great venture, 28X, with an ambitious goal, reaching 100 million active monthly users within the next 5 years, transforming health education for those who need it most. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Amber Vodegel.
Thank you. Hello, thank you. I believe it's the last one today, so let's make it as interesting as possible. Thank you for having me, to your organization. This morning, I'm Dutch, by the way, originally, but I've been in the UK for 21 years, but you probably still hear my Dutch accent. There it is. Perfect. This morning I was at breakfast, and a young man sitting next to me said, "Oh, I subscribed to your session this afternoon because I was very intrigued how you scaled to 150 million users." Then I realized that I actually didn't include it at all in my presentation. So I quickly added some slides to tell you a little bit about the story as well of how we scaled the company and what we're doing next. Because I think there's nothing better than learning from someone else's mistakes, because we made a lot of them. The second part of the presentation, I'm going into consumer health and how we need to rebuild trust. But let me first take you back to 2007. The iPhone was launched, and in July 2008, the App Store. Those apps, they were perceived as gimmicks originally. People thought, oh, it's just going to be a trend, and in a year from now, that will blow over, because websites were the cool thing, not mobile apps. I thought, well, I had a full-time job, and I thought maybe nice to build an app and see how far we can take it. The worst case, it doesn't lead to anything. So I looked up what the most profitable desktop widgets were at the time. Most of you probably don't know, but we had a phase where we had desktop widgets, and then we had like a weather app, or weather widget, and Hangman, and Super Mario. And number 7 was a pregnancy widget. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. My sister's a gynecologist, my brother's a psychiatrist, maybe I should do something with health. Let's build a pregnancy app to guide women through that phase. Started my first app in 2009, so 6 months after the store was launched, one of the very first developers, and it wasn't much in those days. I mean, I literally had to dig those screens out. We had 200,000 downloads, not bad. But I started the company with friends, so lesson 1 was don't start companies with friends. It doesn't work. So I thought, let's give that company back to them and I'll start over again. In 2010, I started my second company. I was still in full-time employment. This was something I did in the evenings. And we learned from the first one, started over again. And this time I noticed there's something with the algorithm, because I didn't have a marketing budget. So to rank high in the store is expensive. And then we figured out that the algorithm didn't see emojis. So we named the company Pregnancy Smiles with the little emoji. Because the algorithm didn't see the smiley, we had a hard keyword match on pregnancy. And that immediately got us up in the top 10 of the apps. So sometimes not having money makes you creative and think and look at the system. You still need to build a good app, otherwise people leave. But it definitely made it possible to launch without marketing budget. 1 million downloads. Then I read a book about architecture and databases, and I thought, I didn't do everything right from the start, so maybe I should do it again. Because there's nothing worse than changing an app that's already existing with users and then start to untangle the backend. So we kind of ditched this app and we launched a new product in 2012, Pregnancy Plus. I learned from the previous one that symbols are brilliant in launching without marketing budget, but I thought the smiley was a little bit childish. So I thought, let's add a plus. And in those days, there was no Disney Plus, there was no Digital Plus or Fitness Plus. So it was quite innovative to add a plus to the name. But it immediately made us rank better, and this was set up from day one with everything that we needed to scale. I built it from my bedroom. When we reached enough users to support the team, I gave up my full-time job, and we moved in the cellar of my house and started building this product with a few very dedicated people. The guy in the middle is Liam. He's 28 years old, and he drew on his own these models. So rather than having a massive team, we just found very talented people. And he looked on Wikipedia and all kind of research documents about how the baby looked and started modeling. He had no knowledge. Once we built all the 40 models for the 40 weeks of the baby, we then got it checked by a physician. So sometimes, again, no money makes that you find really talented people, in this case from the gaming industry, because they were really good at creating beautiful avatars.
He logs on to that.
As an app developer, I expected to have some money to run this company with, but what you don't expect is the impact you have on millions of people. So one day I woke up and we had 1 million daily active users. And I thought, what I'm going to say to 1 million women a day? And then you find out that sometimes it's the very basics that has the biggest impact. For example, please don't drink any alcohol while you're pregnant. The average reading age in the UK, in the US, is 9 years old. People go to TikTok for their health information because government websites ultimately are white pages with black letters. And they find it either boring or daunting, so they move to these other platforms. So to have an app that is equally engaging and entertaining as TikTok, but with clinically validated content, is extremely powerful to educate women. And I'll show you a little video, because we asked some users back in those days to send in some selfie videos about why they liked the product. So I'll play the video.
And he kind of sees what's going on. And, you know.
This is not the beginning of the video. My question is, how can I go back? 1 second. Somehow, you need to forgive me.
To know that he.
Why can't I scroll to the beginning? Maybe it will start over again. You need to see the whole video, unfortunately. Okay, there we go. I think we can launch it again.
Hi, my name is Griselda. I am 27 years old. I am 35 weeks and 2 days pregnant.
Hi, my name is Denisha. I'm 21 years old. This is my first baby.
My name is Jessica Cruz. I'm 22 years old.
My husband is deployed at the moment. He got deployed when I was about 32 weeks.
I don't know. I'm just nervous and I'm ready and I'm scared at the same time.
I was having a lot of sickness, morning sickness at first.
He logs onto the app and he kind of sees what's going on. And, you know, nice to know that he's keeping track of that. And
But I'm really grateful for Pregnancy Plus. Every time I switch to another week, I usually go on my app.
so I also wanted to thank you guys for creating this app to, you know, bring a little peace of mind.
I don't know if she's ready, but I'm ready.
So I think that was the moment where I realized you have a big responsibility as an app developer about what you're going to say and how we educate so many women. Ultimately, we reached 150 million pregnant women. And to put that in perspective, there's only 10 million pregnancies in the entire Europe and North America a year. And we have 2 million pregnant women a day on the platform. 70% of the first-time mums in Holland use Zwangerschaps Plus or Pregnancy Plus. So the influence is big. At some point it was too big, so I thought, let's sell the company. And sometimes it's as simple as a LinkedIn message. I just found Egbert van Acht, head of health and wellness at Philips and later board member on LinkedIn. And I said, I've got a little app, and can we have a chat? I actually approached them for a sponsorship. And when I arrived at the head office, he said, what about an acquisition? And we sold the company, never had any loans or venture capital. So we sold the company with 98% of the shares, which was quite life-changing. And had a wonderful time at Philips. Stayed there even beyond the earn-out years. I don't know if Philips entirely knew what they were getting themselves into, because my team was not your average Philips employee. But they gave us a space. They didn't moan about the dress code. They didn't like the shorts and the flip-flops in the summer. But ultimately, I think they were very grateful that the partnership went so well, and we had a beautiful years. And it's still the largest pregnancy app worldwide. Then I found myself in a new phase of my life. I got divorced twice, really good at business, not so good with men. So I thought maybe I should have a think, and do some reflections. I had a year off. And then I read a book from Rutger Bregman on moral ambition. And he basically said the biggest waste of our generation is a waste of talent. Our cleverest minds, our mathematicians, are working on TikTok feeds and Facebook algorithms and dopamine triggers, while they should be working on climate change and cancer and the real big topics. So there I found myself semi-retired, and I thought maybe I should give back to society. That's, I think, in this day and age, a moral obligation. So I encourage you to read the book. It was very funny. So what I found is there's a massive need for health literacy in all the countries in the world, not just here in the UK or in Holland, especially for the vulnerable in our society. The top layer of society, the 5% richest, they have an Oura Ring and a watch tracker and a menopause consultation and a subscription to Headspace. But the 80% of society, they don't have £5 or dollars or euros a month to spend on health applications. So I thought, how can we change the system? Because there is a big problem. And if you just look at women's health, 2 million women in the UK have period poverty. The average age women first have a period is 12 years old. And in the UK, 3 million women can't even talk about it, the word period. Similar here in the US, 17 million girls face period poverty. In Europe, 13 million. And 35 million people in the US can't even talk about it again, let alone the rest of the world. So I thought, let's do it again, but let's do it bigger. So we set up a new company, and our aim is to serve 100 million monthly active users in the next 5 years. And if I fail, I'm going to play tennis. But I'm not charging a salary at the moment. I'm just giving everything to make this happen. We're starting in women's health. The back end is completely innovative. And I've made a pledge to make it open source, so it can be used for mental health, cancer care, diabetes support. So again, this is more a movement than a business. We want it to give back to society, and I think the architecture that we're building can be used for all health applications, for consumer health. So just looking at women's health, what is the problem? The problem is data breaches and that users are the product. And I don't think that's right. A lot of companies, Liz was here yesterday from Orca. If you look at the average women's health app, the scores are not great, because ultimately these are most of those health tech companies, consumer health, they're not health tech, they are ad tech, advertising tech, because they make money on subscriptions, on sharing data. That's their business model, or advertising products to you. And that's all because of the venture capital funding. So because I bootstrapped my first company, I realized what an incredible, beautiful position that is if you don't have shareholders that force you to deliver returns. These are my 3 biggest competitors at the moment. We have Natural Cycles, that picked up 95 million, Flow, 275 million venture capital, and Clue, 75 million. That is not free money. That money, these venture capitalists want that back 10, 20x. And the only way you can earn that back is by subscriptions, data sharing, advertisement. So making users the product. And I think we can do much better there. Because why do we have to pay for health education? Why do we have to pay to log a period? I don't think that is right. We got used to these models, but it isn't right. It's fine if it's a game or you want to, I don't know, redecorate your house and you download an app. But when it comes to basic health education, that should be for free for everyone, everywhere. And then when you get given 100 million, this is what they build, a circle with a date. A, this is very embarrassing to open in public. I mean, if I'm in a meeting, I'm quite liberal, but I don't want big letters on my screen saying period day 2 or you're ovulating today. And the same is with these dots. Most teenage girls, they think, oh, the dots are gray, so I can have unprotected sex. And they forget that sperm can live 5 days. We're not egg timers, so we can do better, I think. We can do better in design. And everyone copies everyone. This is the only model we have. So I thought, we've done it before. It's really important to get the privacy element right, because data should be secure and safe. And AI unlocks something new for us. So what we're building is a new blueprint. And I've made some money, but I don't have enough money to make the app free for 100 million women in India, for example. And that's what we want to do, or in Brazil, or Indonesia, or everywhere. So we thought, if we don't want to pick up money, what else can we do? And that was eliminating the cost. So the biggest thing we could do was coming off the cloud. So we are building a new technology standard where we don't need AWS, I hope they're not in the room, AWS servers anymore. The advantage there is it's 100% secure, and we can scale infinitely without incremental costs, and that's how we can make it subscription-free. So there's no cost to the government, there's no cost to insurance, and there's no cost to the user. Everyone can use this for free. It's a bit like Wikipedia. We do rely on the 1% to donate $10 a year to keep us going. But I think that will be absolutely fine when we reach that scale. We also use something that's on-device AI. So we all know those large language models, ChatGPT and Claude. They know everything about everything. These are tiny language models that know everything about health, and they can live on the device. Everything gets processed locally. Nothing leaves your device. If you want to donate your data for research, we'll give you zero knowledge transfer at the back end. And then you know where your data goes. For example, research on endometriosis. If you want to back up your data, it's backed up on your phone, but you can back up with one click to your own Google Drive or iCloud, if you must. If you don't want that, it all stays locally. You can also send a zero knowledge transfer through emails, the backend to your GP, and hopefully in many more countries. This will be available online for everyone, not just for us, once we've proven we can make this work. So on-device AI, look it up, it's absolutely brilliant. Gemma 3, last summer, 500 megabytes, an entire AI on device. Last November, it was 270 megabytes, and I can predict that in the next 5 years, we get that size down to 80 megabytes, and it can speak 200 languages. So it's absolutely beautiful, and nobody can see what you're looking at. A massive market, I'm just going to skip through this a little bit. What's also nice when you come off the cloud is you have zero footprint. We're net zero. We don't pollute because we don't use the energy. You use the battery of the phone, and even that we can optimize. For lower middle income countries, we have a separate app that doesn't have the whole suite from on-device, but is still incredibly useful. But over time, think 5, 10 years ahead, they will have access to the same platforms that we have here. So on-device AI makes it 100% private and safe. There's no government that can summon your data, whether you're in Pakistan or in the US, because that's where a big concern is after Roe versus Wade. Your data is 100% safe. Nobody has access to it, only you, unless you share it. It's completely free to use, and it's inclusive. We have 3 different reading levels in the app, for the 9-year-old, for a highly educated woman, and everyone in between, and it's in many, many languages. We're going to educate, it's a cycle tracker, but we educate on 100 topics, all clinically validated content, so we also cover mental health, the menopause, contraceptives, sexual transmitted diseases, but also things like the HPV vaccine or domestic violence. And we have a lot of partners that deliver content to us. So if you have amazing content and you want to amplify that, please reach out. The other thing that we did is we have a limited company because a charity doesn't do well in app stores. And above it sits a foundation. And I've pledged to donate the majority of all profits back into the foundation. And then we reinvest back into women's health, research, back into the system, because I think there is so much that we need to do. And the last thing we need is a few founders making a lot of money and not supporting larger society. Went to pick up some money last summer for the first time in my life. Gosh, it was hard work. We were quite quickly oversubscribed because we've done it before. But then my other half said, "Do you realize you only have men on the cap table?" And I looked at it, and it was indeed the case. So we redid the round, and now we have 80% of women as private philanthropic investors on the cap table, which I'm very proud of. The Philips Foundation is our lead investor. They have access to 20,000 healthcare workers in lower middle income countries, and they're an incredible partner strategically to work with. So we got 5 years to build this product. It's going to look amazing, because that's the thing. If you want users to share it, you need to build something that's beautiful. Ultimately, they don't really know. Their data is not safe. They don't really know what's clinically validated or isn't. But what I do know is that they love using a product. And if someone loves a product, they share it with everyone else. Because as you know, like look at the apps on your phone, you didn't find them in the store. The apps that you have on your phone was always someone saying, you should download this app, it's amazing. And then we're going to make it look beautiful, a bit 1920s, very eco-friendly. Nature, the gold and the greens work really well in Brazil and the Middle East. And then some crazy colors for the young girls because they love crazy colors. And then finally, I've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to show you a video that explains the product. We're launching next week in the UK, and then US, and then Holland, Germany, in end of 2026. We recorded the video, And Jessie Buckley, who just won the Golden Globe, I think, was so kind to do our voiceover for it. And I see it's on YouTube, but it's not listed video. So it's quite exclusive to see, but I thought it would be nice to share what we're building.
"800 million people menstruate every single day, but millions still lack the knowledge, the tools, and the confidence to manage their health. Commercial health apps have failed us. They hide help behind paywalls, exploit private data, and overlook the most vulnerable. Your health is not a product. Your data is your data. It's time for a solution made by women, for women. Introducing 28X, the first free, privacy-safe, and inclusive women's health app. No subscriptions, no cloud servers, no compromises. We keep all your data safe on your device and process it locally. Nothing is shared, nothing is sold. The majority of our profit is reinvested into education and women's health research so that 28X will continue to support every woman, every girl, everywhere. Together, we can create a better world and shape the future of data, ethics, and healthcare. Please join us on our mission.
Thank you.
Amber, thank you so much for what you're building. It's amazing to get a preview, and I think it's really remarkable. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy on building companies, because what I feel from the examples you shared, part 1 and part 2 of your talk, is there's been an evolution in how you're approaching it. Can you speak a little bit more to how you believe companies should be built? It seems like you've put a lot of thought into it.
I think it all came down to not having money, because I see, of course, now after you've had a successful company, you speak to a lot of other founders. If you pick up a lot of venture capital, all you're driven by is the shareholder return constantly. And that makes it you make decisions guided by revenues. Whereas when we started, there was no money, so I did the finance, the project management, partnerships, but also all the customer service tickets. So I read hundreds and thousands of customer service tickets. In the end, we had 80,000 customer service tickets a year. That was the moment far beyond before that I didn't want to do that anymore. But reading those customer service tickets where women, because they email you when they get upset, they don't email you because they love your product. And reading someone lost their pregnancy journal because the backend wasn't doing what it should be doing, and the pain of that ticket that someone said, I spent months entering this data and now it's gone. I mean, once you, as an owner of a company, read that, you walk to your development team and say, whatever we do, this can never ever happen again. Or people say, I didn't like this article because you forgot to mention X, Y, or Z, and I felt offended. And I think just a real connection with the obsession over users makes it you make ethical decisions. And another example is we were approached quite early on for a cellulite cream, and we were offered 100,000 to promote it in the app for a year. And trust me, there was an awful lot of money to, as a startup with no money. But then I thought that cream cost 65 euros. There's no cream that eliminates cellulite. And you're basically saying to women, your body is not looking great and here's a cream to fix it. I mean, well, is that the narrative you want to do? If you have venture capital money, there's no way you can say no to a deal like that. But we didn't, so we thought these women could better spend their 65 pounds on something useful, and we write an article saying cellulite is part of being pregnant, and it's okay. Just maybe drink some more water or walk if it's really bothering you, might not make that big of a difference because it's mainly genetic, but you're creating new life, and that is so much more important than anything else. So accept that, and I think that comes down to being able to make ethical decisions.
As you look to the future of Europe, you mentioned Roe versus Wade, you mentioned that there's obviously a shift within, I would say, the Western community around, well, generally the world order and everything that comes with it. You know, do you think this model of starting a company here in Europe and then eventually exiting it, is that the model of the future, or does digital health need a different model?
Good question. No, I exited my first company, which I'm still very proud of, and I was also very proud that Philips bought us.
Which I think we all are. I mean, this is an amazing story.
Yeah, and they've taken it to where I wanted it to take. So it's still an amazing product, and they've looked after my baby very well. But I don't necessarily believe that what we're currently doing is like we grow companies in Europe, and then as soon as we get a little bit of traction, we exit those companies to the US, and then all the jobs go there. And the other day, someone said we should build companies that we want our children to inherit. And I thought it was incredibly wise of that person to say, because we all know those mustard jars where it says since 1870. I think I would be very proud if 28X was there still in like 100 years. To build companies as an example where there's no trust in society. They don't trust media, they don't trust the government, they don't trust pharma. And to have an example of where we have a social responsibility, which I think as a company you have, I think that's more of a movement, and that I would love to show an example that you can have, and good salaries, even though at the moment I have nothing, but you can have good salaries, and you can still donate a large portion of your profits back, and we will pay our shareholders dividends. But I all ask them, are you okay if I pay you back 3 or 5 times your money, not 20 times? And then once you have those returns, maybe the next dividend round, you can pledge it also, like I do, to the foundation. Because when is enough enough? And I'd love people to be more proud to say, I grew a company and I employed many people and I grew it in Europe, rather than saying, I sold my company for 100 million and now I've got a boat and a second home and all the jobs are there. I think we can do better, and we need as a Europe also to be more proud of what we're building and keeping it here and growing it here.
Thank you so much for saying all of that. It really resonates. And I wish you best of luck that this will be the digital company where it says since 2026. And we will read that in 2126. So thank you.
All right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you very, very much.